Yep, I'm pregnant. Okay, let's drink some water. You have to stay hydrated and drink a bunch of water when you're pregnant. I haven't really had time to really let it sink in, and honestly, just making like a video like this, it's like kind of hitting me. But I think one of the hardest things about being pregnant is keeping it a secret. David and I have been kind of not telling anybody about the pregnancy is because we just kind of wanted to make sure that everything was okay before we told everyone about it. I am a high risk, and yeah, there were a few complications. So this is me, 4 months pregnant. I know, I don't look 4 months. People at 4 months tend to already started to show, but I was looking like this month 2. So it was kind of hard to even be like, hey, surprise, I'm pregnant, because when you see me in person, I think the first thing people would think is, Jazz is pregnant. But let's talk about the whole entire story of the pregnancy. Then you guys would kind of understand why we didn't want to tell people about it. It all started with being about 2 or 3 days late on my period, and it was pretty common for that to happen. It was just normal to me because with everyone else, it was normal to them, so I didn't think anything big of it. What happened was I was getting ready to take a bath. You know, I turn on the bath water and everything. You know, I remove my clothes and I look in the mirror because you gotta do that sometimes. And I was like this. I was like, something looks kind of different. And I just had a feeling that my abdominal area was just odd. The next day, I decided to take a pregnancy test at home, and I took it, and it said I was pregnant. So I waited, took another one, then a few days later, I took another one, and they were all the same. They said, pregnant. I made an appointment with my OBGYN, and to confirm, yeah, I was pregnant. Hey guys, before we continue with the video, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to include motherhood into the topics of my YouTube channel. Hopefully it will be good. But if you guys have been liking the content that I have been putting out, subscribe to my channel, like this video, and support. Let's continue with the video and talk about the nitty-gritty stuff about this pregnancy. After finding out that I was pregnant, I was so tired that entire month. I was so tired to the point that I couldn't work, and it was really upsetting for me. I guess you could say that I didn't really know how to rest, like literally rest. I was on a roll with my business. I was doing a lot of things that got me really excited to start my business. But when I was ready to work, I was just so tired. I just wanted to sleep. My body didn't have enough energy, and it makes sense. I mean, my body was making a baby. Like David says, I'm a human 3D printer. I can't be mad at that. I had to stop everything I was doing to rest. So when I accepted that I just needed my rest, that's kind of what I did. I just rested, I watched TV, and I took a lot of naps. Then my birthday came around in April, and I was really excited, but at the same time, no one really knew that I was pregnant unless they saw me. I got to see my family because we do this family gathering every month, and I really tried to cover myself. I realized one of my aunties kept looking at me, and I was just like, oh no, I think she knows. But no one asked because I think They were thinking, or they told me like, oh, maybe she gained weight because of the pandemic and everything, which was true because I was a little overweight. I looked pregnant, and after that week, Buddy passed away. He got sick, and he just wasn't getting better, and he was ready to go, and he lived on to be 18 years old and 3 months, and I miss him so much. When I think about him, I think about him. He's like my first baby, and it's hard that he's not here. It's so funny because it's like I wrote a script for this entire thing, and I really didn't think I would cry. But yeah, if you're a pet owner, I'm pretty sure you understand that it's hard losing a pet. And the thing was, Buddy was my first pet. I had him for 11 years. He was a senior dog. He was blind, he was deaf, he had heart problems, ear problems, and I really took care of him as long as I could. And it was just, he was ready to go. And honestly, your pets, they know when you're pregnant. They know things are gonna change. So I tell myself, he knew that it was time for him to go and for our baby to take his place. He definitely prepared us for this, because before we would wake up like 2 or 3 times every night to help take care of him, to go outside, go restroom, or whatever he needed. So yeah, I miss him so much. But yeah, I was just crying for a week, and I would randomly cry like right now or whenever, because my hormones are also going crazy, but because Buddy was my baby. Yeah. I don't know if my makeup's messed up, but I don't know if I should fix it. Let's see. Oh, that looks fine. When I went to my first visit to see if I was pregnant, that's when the doctor said, "Did you know you have a fibroid?" And I was thinking like, what? What is that? And so he asked, did you used to have or have really heavy periods? And I was like, yeah. And he was asking me, do you feel like you can't lose weight? And I was like, yeah. Like, there are times where I would look good, like my weight is looking good, and then like my period comes around, and there's a time where after that, like, I'm kind of big. I realized, like, even when my friends or my aunts were pregnant and I was like next to them, I was like, why am I like the same size as them? But you can kind of tell I wasn't pregnant. It was just I was bloated or I was big. But the thing was, it was a fibroid growing inside of me. I am not in the medical field or anything like that. So this is just from my understanding and the research that I've done myself to learn more about this fibroid that I have. If you guys have any questions, I would suggest you ask a professional about fibroids, because that is the best way to get information. So fibroids grow because of estrogen and hormones. So while you're pregnant, your hormones are pretty much out of control. That means that there is a possibility that the fibroid would grow larger. Most of the time, fibroids are benign tumors made of tissue. It could be located anywhere in the uterus or around it, and you can have more than one. In my case, my dominant fibroid is above my uterus, which is great for this pregnancy because it is not interrupting the baby in any way. I have read online that fibroids can cause miscarriages. It can give complications where fibroid is growing and interrupting the growth of the baby. It could cause you to have problems during delivery and you would have to get a C-section. This doesn't mean that I will not have problems. It's still a possibility that I will have problems and that I will have pain when I'm in labor. So, there are those type of things that I still worry about, but there's not much that I can do. Just hope and pray that it is a healthy baby and that the delivery is going to be fine. So when we went to the doctors in April, that's when my fibroid was at 7 centimeters. And around 10 centimeters, sorry, Chip is walking around. At 10 centimeters is when people usually take the fibroid out because it becomes uncomfortable. At this moment, at 4 months pregnant, I am at 10 centimeters from what we've known from our last visit. There's nothing we can really do about that right now. There's just so much about this fibroid that I feel like it's a whole new YouTube video that I need to talk to you guys about. But all in all, the fibroid is at a good spot. It's above the uterus, it's not interrupting the pregnancy, and we're just monitoring it as the months go by. So this was part of the reason why we didn't want to tell anybody about our pregnancy. Anybody who actually saw us would know, unless I try to cover up, but summer was coming around and I didn't want to wear a jacket all the time. And yeah, so most of the time we kind of stayed in. This is the timeline of the whole entire pregnancy. April, we found out I was pregnant, and we found out I had a growing fibroid along with the growing baby. In May, I took a NIPT test to figure out if the baby has any type of Down syndrome. It took about 2 weeks for us to get the results. We got a phone call from the doctor. He said the NIPT test looks good, we're cleared, and he actually called right when we were in another appointment to do the nuchal translucency test to measure the liquid thickness of the baby. And in order to do that, it was a ultrasound scan. So that was when we got the news about the NIPT test. That was in June. And then a few days later, the doctor calls again. And I totally forgot that we decided to take a genetics test. Everything was good because we did it it's all done by blood. Do a blood test for the NIPT test, and you do a blood test for the genetics, and there was a few tubes, but the nurses were so good at what they were doing. I thought I was gonna faint, but I think because I gained weight and everything, that there was no chance that I was gonna faint. So that was easy going. So we did all those tests. Anyways, the doctor did call and said that I had a gene defect. I am a silent carrier of alpha thalassemia. One gene is missing or damaged, and the other 3 are normal. Blood tests are usually normal. Your blood cells may be smaller than normal, but being a silent carrier means you don't have any signs of the disease, but you can pass the damaged gene onto your child. When we got that phone call, we went to the doctor's office right away so they could get David's blood to do a gene test on him. Because if he was a carrier or anything like that, then it would be a bigger possibility that our child would have anemia. It's really sad. And I know there are people out there that have it, and I didn't want to stress about this anymore because I was already stressing through the fibroid. And with this test, there was nothing I could do. We just had to wait for the results again to see if everything was okay. We waited for about a week, and the doctor called. He said we took 244 gene defect tests or whatever, and David is perfect. I laughed because I was like, excuse me? And he was like, yeah. he's perfect. Yeah, everything was good. Everything was cleared. Other than that, the child now has a 50-50 chance of also being a silent carrier like me. Things were looking good, so thank goodness. All these things doesn't seem as big, but when it's happening to you and you're just kind of stressed out a little, it's always one thing after another, you know? I am just so thankful that David has been so supportive, and I don't think I could really ever go through this pregnancy by myself, literally. Anyways, that is the update about our pregnancy and why we just didn't really tell anyone yet. But here we are, we're at 4 months and it's happening. I hope you guys checked out that video where we pretty much announced our pregnancy. It was short, but it was sweet. Anyways, that's the whole thing about our pregnancy. I hope I provided some information for you guys. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. I do plan on making a fibroid video and other good things about motherhood. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.